Hello, today we're going to have fun with paper. We're going to do a paper piecing technique that gives you a quilting look, which is what is in style now. What you need to do this technique is a big shot or a die cutting machine. I'm just going to show you briefly here the big shot, what it is. It's a tabletop manual die cutting machine from Sizzix, and this is what Stampin' Up! Also provides. Today I'm not going to show you how to use that machine, but I did use it to do this technique. You're going to need various scrap paper of designer paper. You'll need Tombow multi-purpose adhesive and your paper snips. So to get started, what I did was I cut out a letter T from an alphabet die that I had through the big shot on thin cardboard. And when I say thin cardboard, this is just recycled material I found using like an old cereal box or a tissue box, something that thin, and the big shot die cutter can cut through that material. You just need something a little bit thicker than cardstock for this. And then what I did was cut out that same exact letter T through my die cutter on various designer paper. And that's all that I did here. Now if you have a punch, you can do that as well, but it will not cut through the cardboard, I do not think. And I must give credit where it's due. I found this technique from a fellow demonstrator, Andrea Walford. I saw this on her blog and I just wanted to share it with you and try it myself. So now with these different patterns, all you're going to do is very simply take your paper snips, find a piece that you like, and you're just going to snip it wherever you like, in whichever direction you like. And all you're going to do is take your Tombow adhesive and glue it right on to your cardboard, your thin cardboard letter. And that serves as your base. And because this particular letter T is symmetrical, and because I used double-sided paper, I have more patterns to choose from. So all I'm doing is gluing this on, and I'm going to take now a piece of this T. And the trick here is just to make sure you cover the entire letter and not let anything out. And it's just this easy. So I'm going to cut larger pieces just so that there's less for you to sit and watch me do. But this is a very simple way to get a quilted look in very little time, and it really adds some pizzazz. Now you can use this same technique with chipboard as well, if you're able to cut out designer paper exactly that matches your exact chipboard shape or letter. Excuse my hands there. So I just used 3 pieces here, but you can get as creative as you like. And there you see you have a, a pattern letter T, which is much more decorative than maybe a solid or a solid one pattern. So to go with this look, I just wanted to show you one other technique, which is faux stitching. And what that basically means is you're making it look as if you sewed on your paper when really you didn't. To do this, I'm using the matte pack, which comes from Stampin' Up!, which comes with a whole pattern grid with various sizes, a foam board, as well as another grid board as like a work surface. And it's suggested to use a paper piercing tool, and I'm very frugal, so I'm just using a little handy dandy push pin. So what I'm going to do is just take my cardstock, just layer this the matte pack, with my workstation there, the foam, my cardstock, and then my whole patterns on top. So I'm going to use the small, I want to say 1/8 inch spaced holes. And because of the holes are so close together, I can choose which holes I would like to use and just poke a hole through those to make whichever stitch pattern I prefer. So I could make them all this tight little 1/8 inch increments, or I could do skip 1 or skip 2, or I could do zigzag, whatever you'd like to do. So you just have to kind of experiment with it and try it out yourself. So for this example's sake, I'm just going to do one side just to show you how it works. And I'm just going to skip about 2 so you don't have to watch me poke holes. And the way I like to use this grid is I use either the edge of the template itself to line up with the edge of my cardstock so I get it nice and straight. Or, as you can see, I hope you can see, sorry, there's also a black line around the border as well. So if I want the holes to be that close to my cardstock, I would use that black line as my guide as well. So again, for example's sake, I'm just going to use the edge of this template itself, match it up to the edge of my cardstock, pick which line of holes, depending on where I want the stitching to be, and just start poking holes with my push pin. And it's that simple. And if you're doing a larger piece of cardstock, you would just punch your last one, take your template, lift it up, line it up to the last holes you last punched, move your template down, and then just keep going. So that's how you would do this on a larger piece of paper. Okay, so I'm just going to do that one side. And so you can see now I just have holes on the side of my cardstock. To make it look like stitching, just take a marker, a fine tip. You can do black, white, I'm using brown chocolate chip here, and you just connect the dots. And depending on how thick you want your thread to look, you can go back and forth over this as many times as you want, or just do it once like I'm showing you here. And then you can see it looks as if it was hand sewn. So to combine these two together, let me just show you some finished cards. Here's one that I did, the same technique but with a flower die. So here I used 3 different patterns. And then I did the faux stitching on the edges but in a zigzag pattern. And then I just ruffled up the edges of my cardstock using my scissors. I just ran the scissor blade up and down the edges and kind of hit the corners to make it rough and make it look like fabric. And then here's one other technique using the letter. I'm using the letter U here for my thinking of you sentiment. So it's a very simple, easy pattern technique. I hope you try it and have fun. Happy stamping.